I don't consider myself an enemy of the press whatsoever, but I do consider myself to be an untrained D student who happened to get lucky, but who happens to know a few things, and now has the ability to shout down the street, extra, extra, this just in.
All right, folks, who is that man with the hat? That's Matt Drudge. Welcome to Gimme 5. We don't often hear from Matt Drudge or see Matt Drudge, especially recently. That was from 1998 at the National Press Club when Matt Drudge took questions after making a speech. And that was really, one of the last times until recently that we heard from him. Here's some more from that time.
You know, fame for fame's sake is, always leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And you have to give them something they haven't heard. There has to be a reason they'll come to your website. If it's just made-up fantasies, why bother? You know, if I'm so bad and if I'm so useless and I'm just a gossip hound, why was Sidney Blumenthal reading me the night before his first day at the White House? I don't quite understand that. It seems to me I'd spend my time over at the New York Times, who gets everything right.
All right, and Matt Drudge, that lasted about an hour. The speech, the question and answer, and at this stage he talked about how he started from very humble beginnings. He had some experience, he knew what he was doing, but he wanted to be in media. He knew he'd never get a press credential and get interviews with the big shots, so he started his website. And lo and behold, you know what the rest of the story is. But he was on WTOP radio last Friday. I don't know if he called in or it was a prearranged interview, but he spoke. And anytime Matt Drudge speaks, it's kind of interesting, and I thought you might want to hear it. Here's some of what he had to say.
Thank goodness for some gridlock. Can you imagine what would be happening if there was no gridlock? I don't know. Well, we're about to get another election here. Will people vote exactly as they did last time? Probably. Maybe we'll get the same exact results. Wouldn't that be ironic if America doesn't want things changed? You know, the argument here is, keep changing it. Keep changing it. Well, maybe the elections tell us they don't want change. They like the gridlock. So I don't know. I'm more obsessed with what's going on with the border these days. I know it's not an immediate issue here unless we start getting some of the immigrant shipments in. And there's been talk to bring some to Washington. I know there's big fights throughout the country. Virginia just said, no, do not bring immigrants here from the border in mass.
Yeah. So he was talking a little bit about immigration. He was talking about gridlock in D.C. And then, here he's talking about the hot summer ahead and how it's going to be hot in a lot of ways.
These are very hot, spicy issues. We're into an interesting summer here. We're only about a week old into it. I'm sensing some heat, and not just from the temperature outside. I think things are heating up in many respects.
And of course, when it's hot, Matt Drudge gravitates towards heat, as he explains here on WTOP radio.
The country is divided. All of these polls are always divided. Look at Capitol Hill is divided. How can you say the airwaves or the website should not be divided? We are. However, I go where the heat is. I'm a heat-seeking missile. I will go where the action is. Sometimes before it's cool to do it. That's why I get in trouble. I make waves. I don't surf them, as I used to say. So that is not easy in this atmosphere with so many media outlets.
All right, and finally, Matt Drudge talks about the speech he gave 20 years ago, actually a little less than 20 years ago, the 16 years ago or so, in the National Press Club, which you heard a little bit of at the beginning. Here he alludes to it in this final remark.
So I gave a press club speech here 20 years ago, and I said it was fun when one person was screaming extra, extra down the street. What happens when you have millions of people? It's a little psychotic right now, the news business, because everybody's doing everything. But that still doesn't mean there are not important events. There's information coming all of the time. You think of what's just happened this year. The news has been so dynamic, internationally and domestic. This is a vibrant era of media. It's not going in any way anytime soon, and I approach it every time I get in front of a computer as this is exciting. This is not old. This is not boring. This is a vibrant period, and the more people involved, the better.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the news we had yesterday. Every hour, another breaking story. Supreme Court decisions, the president announcement on immigration, and the Drudge Report, an institution. And Matt Drudge is too. On the Steve Malzberg Show.